Well, it's 7 o'clock. We'll call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone. Nice to see you. We begin our meetings of the Board of Selectmen always with public audience and invite speakers to speak for 5 minutes. If anyone feels they need to speak longer, I'm happy to stay after the meeting. I see, Mark, you've raised your hand. Would you like to speak?
I would like to speak. Are you going to be policing this first selectman?
Mr. Cashman, you're out of order. Mr. Cashman, you're out of order.
Is that it?
Mr. Cashman, you're out of order. Everybody gets 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Hi, name is Mark Orenstein, 82 Old Meadow Plain Road. Lived in town since 1972. I'm on the Aging and Disability Commission, and I've been involved with the Senior Center movement for about 4 years at this point. Last Board of Selectmen meeting, there was some announcements that occurred that said there's a little bit of play, there's some due diligence that has to be done over 2 locations. Going back to the public hearing in February, when I was at the podium 3 times, 2 of the times had to do with the parking situation, and the 3rd time I walked up somewhat tongue-in-cheek to say, take a Little League field or do something like that. Well, the night before that public hearing, I had actually done a walk with Google Earth down Hot Meadow Street. And I was very happy when the pack was announced. I think I'm happy with these other looks also. I think there was a place that escaped the Public Building Commission's radar. And I'm going to bring it up right now. It's the end of Central School. This is our town's GIS system. And if you bear with me. Okay. So this is a layout, pretty much, we're here, right here. You've got Central School, got an old road that doesn't exist anymore, playing fields. This forested area is owned by the town. It's about 3.2 acres, 3.2 to 3.4 acres, depending how you measure it. I believe it's relatively flat, although in the backside, going to the ball fields below it, there is a drop-off at that time. But I think most of it is relatively flat. And if you're doing due diligence on other sites, I'd just like to suggest you take a look at this site also and see if it's buildable or not. And if it is buildable, consider it as an alternative if any of the other sites turns out to be much more expensive, because I think this is something that can be moved ahead with. It may have some other advantages going for it also. If Central School property, for example, goes into disuse, it can be repurposed for seniors or housing or something like that, be close to each other. It's just the more this gestated in my mind, the more my thoughts were that that's a site that's worth looking at. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak at public audience? Joan.
Joan Cove, 26 Whitcomb Drive. We finally know First Selectman Lisa Heavener's position on town governance. Heavener is in favor of a bifurcated government with a pseudo-town manager receiving a 6-figure salary and a paid First Selectman with nobody in charge of making decisions. This was once proposed by a past Charter Revision Commission during the first Mary Glassman administration and rejected by the board. We should not pay 2 people for 1 job. Is this fiscally responsible? Simsbury, with a population of over 23,000 people, is no longer a small town. If you want a candidate who believes that Simsbury should have a professional town manager and eliminate the paid First Selectman positions, I am your candidate. Avon, Granby, Farmington all have town managers and have lower mill rates. We need 1 voice in an executive position, not 2. With a $90 million budget and fewer resources, a professional town manager has the ability and training to use our resources prudently. Everyone should watch a video on SCTV, the council manager form of local government, to understand the reasons for a town manager. According to the election disclosure contributions, First Selectman Lisa Hebner received $20,995, and Philip Perciello received $2,545. Money should not buy an election. I differentiate myself from First Selectman Lisa Hebner and Philip Perciello by not accepting any funding for my campaign. My decisions will be made with the best interest of the residents, not the 60 people in the Republican Town Committee or the 40 people on the Democratic Town Committee that contribute to the campaigns, pay for lawn signs, brochures, and write letters to the editor in favor of their candidates, as did Mary Glassman and Linda Schofield. First Selectman candidate Philip Perciello has lived in town for 1 year, did not vote for the town budget, and has no proven leadership skills. Working for Men's Warehouse and 4 months at Travelers does not enhance a resume for First Selectman. First Selectman Lisa Hebner talks about her no increase in taxes, but never mentioned that over $1 million was taken from the town general fund. Taking from Peter to pay Paul should not be used to manipulate the expenditures off budget. This is voodoo economics. I would not be proud of a smoke and mirror budget. During First Selectman Lisa Hebner's short tenure, she has governed by committee without making any decisions. According to the memo sent to the Board of Selectmen and First Selectman Lisa Hebner, a past employee of the town reflected on the number of meetings required to attend with hundreds of hours of unpaid time over his 40 paid hours a week. He was responsible for 7 meetings on a regular basis, not including staff time. Are we asking our employees to be indentured servants? Who will work for the town under these conditions? I would urge the zoning commission to be more restrictive in the implementation of the WAS zone in the regulations. The WAS zone should not be applied to a residential zone. Simsbury should not have a buyer beware mentality in residential zones. Why is the past director of the library, Susan Bullock, in the library on a daily basis, chatting with staff and creating an alleged hostile work environment? $98,000 was paid for a charrette that stated Eno Hall was the appropriate place for the senior center. This was ignored. The Great Blue Survey cost the town $13,659. The results stated that the residents will spend no more than $5 million for a senior center. None of these selections for a senior center is under $5 million. First Selectman Lisa Hebner has hired a program consultant for about $10,000, although we already have paid professional staff in the library, recreation department, and senior center, all providing programs, a waste of money. An architect was chosen for a study on how to configure a senior center with no place in mind. The cost is $3,500 for a feasibility study on Andes and Webster Bank. PAC study, $30,000, and additional costs of $6,000. These expenditures were not in the budget. It appears that our tax dollars are being wasted on pie-in-the-sky ideas under First Selectman Lisa Hebner. It appears that under the Hebner administration, we have the tail wagging the dog with no solutions to issues. The senior center should be at Eno Hall, not at the Performing Arts or Andes or the old Webster Bank.
Oh, thank you, Ms. Coe. It's been 5 minutes.
Led by political
Thank you
cronies.
so much.
Joan Coe is the way to go for First Selectman. I'm asking for your vote on November 3rd.
Thank you, Ms. Coe.
And all of my comments will be posted on Simsbury Patch, Twitter at Joan
Thank you,
Coe,
Ms. Coe.
Simsbury Forum.
Very much appreciate your
and pictures
comments.
on my Facebook
Thank you very
page
much.
At Simsbury for
Thank
Joan
you very
Coe.
much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Mr. Kalishman.
I hope you're not as rude to me as you are to Ms. Cole. Thank you for allowing me to address this board. And the first thing I noticed, doing a little of my homework, you know, this board, you've been lying to the people. And they just talked about Governor Malloy. You people are all lying to us. Here's a study here, started 1985. You started making a decision whether or not you wanted a town manager. 85, 92, 95, 99, 2004, 2007, 2010, 2012. And you know something? You're just pushing this thing aside until after the election, and those of you that are not disingenuous, including the first selectman and the deputy selectman, because, Joan, when you mention Ms. Hefner, you have to mention Mr. Askham, because he votes with the Democrats more times than he votes with the Republicans, and he shouldn't be reelected. If he wants to run as a Democrat, let him run as a Democrat, and that's how that should happen. But you're not going to give us a decision. After that's over, you're going to tell us we don't have the funds, and these people are not going to get their senior center. Next, you know what I'm running for, and the reason I'm running for is to stop the corruption in town. And it's corrupt. And it goes from the finance board all the way down. You have a situation with Linda Schofield. She's on that finance board. She's approving budgets. And her husband, Mark Denning, is taking money to go to the Bushnell when Miss Estes ran. And don't give me that look, you don't know about it, because I inquired of Mary Glassman about it, and after she shuffled her feet a few times, I have a letter telling me that they gave them $95 to attend that thing for Mr. Estes, who at that time was the Commissioner for Environmental Protection. Next, the next lie. This personnel board, which Mr. Askham serves on, and Mr. and Mrs. First Selectman Hefner was the chairman of, this was the one where they decided to cut her salary, to cut the First Selectman's salary. And what did they do? They needed a scapegoat. So who did they get for the scapegoat but Mr. Payne? They nailed him that he caused her losing her $132,000 or whatever it was they were going to cut. When all along she authorized the study, Mary Glassman authorized the study. They came in with the recommendation. The meeting was here. I attended the meeting, and don't look at me as if you don't know what's going on, because I sat in that seat, and Mary refused to recuse herself from the meeting. And finally, she realized that she was making an error, and she left the meeting. And at that time, it was decided that then and there they can talk about her salary. And when Mr. Cook went in to inform her and tell her what transpired here, she decided she wasn't coming back to the meeting. Next thing I know, ladies and gentlemen, we have a big dog and pony show. Mary resigns because she's not getting her $132,000. Lisa Hefner was the one that told her not to get it. The recommendation came down from them and the fellow that ran the study. So lying again. And they've been lying to you and lying to you and lying to you. And they can't tell the truth. So if you want some honest government, you're going to have a choice. You have two unaffiliated candidates. You can vote for Robert Kalishman, 1C, or you can vote for Joan Coe, 1D. And at least you won't have this corruption, in my opinion, that's been going on in this town. And then the latest thing that upsets me, in my honor, I served in the military. And for what's going on in that Board of Education with that school and the anti-Semitism and the corruption, what are you going to do? When are you going to stop it? And don't tell me you don't know about it. We have a member of this board that sits here right now, Mr. Kelly, that came from the Board of Education. We've had assaults there on youngsters that have been physically assaulted, and the only justice they got, they had to take the case to federal court. Is that telling me you're doing your jobs?
Thank you, Mr. Kalishman. It's been 5 minutes.
And if I were you, I would want to cut me off too.
Thank you, Mr. Kalishman. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in public audience? Go ahead.
Good evening, Woodard McNiven, August Road. Most of you know me as that SCTV guy who pulls the levers upstairs behind the curtain.
Thank you.
And I am here tonight to talk on behalf of SCTV. Several things. One, we're going to be launching our annual fundraising campaign here shortly. And you all know, because we've said it time and time again, SCTV is a free resource to the public of Simsbury. Mr. Kalishman has made several shows with military topics. Many of you probably recently did your political speeches for the upcoming election. So go to sctv.org on the computer, and you can watch those or selectively see which candidates you want. But again, it is a free resource, but its operations are not free. It costs money. We have payroll, we have insurance expenses, we have repairs and maintenance, and we've got equipment we have to buy every now and then. It costs money. So please, I ask each of you to set a good example, contribute to SCTV, and hopefully we'll get a good response from the town as well. But we have another deficit as well, besides money. Money, obviously, for everything is always needed. But our other deficit is volunteers. We rely on a volunteer workforce. I'm a volunteer. Almost everybody at SCTV is volunteer except for the general manager and 2 part-timers. And what we're doing to try and address that is we are holding a free event at Simsbury High School on Friday, October 23rd at 7 p.m. And what that free event is a mini film festival, and it's going to show several short movies made by SCTV volunteers, past and present. And the objective is we want everybody to enjoy those short movies, but we're trying to get young people or people of any age to get interested in volunteering for SCTV, because we can teach you the skills, the basic skills, camera work, editing, audio. And these people, these mostly young people who have made movies that are going to show at the mini film festival, got a lot of their skills initially at SCTV while still in high school. To give you a sampling of some of the films we're going to be showing, we're going to be showing Jacob Bittens, who was, I think, a 2010 Simsbury High School graduate and a recent graduate of NYU Film School. We're going to be showing his screwball comedy called Go to Hell, and that was filmed right here in Simsbury a little over a year ago. I'm also happy to say I've got a small role in that film. All right. Another film is called Fracas by Nadia Gilbert, who was a 2012 Simsbury High School graduate, if I remember correctly. She's currently in her 3rd year at NYU Film School. And her film called Fracas was filmed over in Prague. She was at a summer program over in Prague in the Czech Republic this past summer, and it's sort of a street drama. And then another volunteer who has not been with us in a number of years, named Timothy Griggs. He worked at SCTV for a lot of years, but is now working professionally out on the West Coast. He recently came out with a short film called Ink. I've got to watch it again because I'm not sure I quite got it, but it's a dark drama. And then I'm a hacker too. I play around, so I'm going to be showing 1 or 2 of my movies, and I've got one called Howard's Keep that is a dark fantasy. Now, I've got to give a little bit of a warning. Some of these films have some mature content, so what we're going to do to address that is those 2 particular films with mature content, and that's basically language. We'll give a heads up to any parents in the audience before we show those, that if they want to take their youngsters out of the auditorium, they can. If not, they've been duly warned. So I hope you all show up and come to the mini film festival on the 23rd, and just please help SCTV out, and thank you for your support.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Appreciate what you do.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak at public audience? Seeing none, we'll move on to First Selectmen's report.
Lisa, before we move
Oh,
on, I
yes,
would like
thank
to
you.
move for a point of personal privilege.
I have no objection. Go ahead.
Thank you. I wanted to take a moment to address some of the comments that continued to be made about me in public audience. Firstly, I would like to clarify that I have been a project leader at Travelers for 6 months now. Prior to my promotion, I worked as a communication specialist at Travelers for 1 year. In total, I have held employment at Travelers for 1 year and 6 months, not 4 months as asserted in public audience. Facts about my work history have been politically cherry-picked, and I would also like to clear that up. Prior to working at Travelers, I was the Director of Communication for Newington Public Schools in coordination with my Master's of Public Administration coursework. I also served as an intelligence specialist in the United States Navy for 6 years. In that role, I led groups of service members and our associated contractors abroad and within hostile environments. Failure of leadership on my part could have resulted in loss of life. I cannot think of a better vehicle for leadership than the tough decisions and pressure I faced in the military. Finally, I am thankful for the opportunity that Men's Warehouse provided me when I was hired into my first post-military service job as a wardrobe consultant. I am also thankful for the great work Men's Warehouse has done in chipping away at the epidemic that is veteran unemployment. I have met many great leaders throughout all of my experiences. They exist through all levels of an organization and all organizations throughout all industries. To belittle the work done by those in retail trying to make a living for themselves and their families is demeaning. I would like to thank the board and this audience for the opportunity to voice my thoughts so that I may continue this meeting unencumbered by the statements I just made. Thank you.
You're welcome. No, we'll move on. We're moving on to first select. Thank you, Mr. Calisman.
This is not a debate.
This
You're
is
out
not
of
a
order.
debate. We're moving on to first Selectmen's report. I wanted to thank the Simsbury's Public Works, the library, and the recreation staff for a successful Touch a Truck event on Saturday, October 3rd. For those of you who were able to go, it was a wonderful event. It was a little rainy. It was very cold, but there was hot chocolate and bad coffee, as I understand. Little helmets were given away. And I also want to thank town staff who really stood by all the trucks and all the vehicles and enabled the children to participate and enjoy it. It was a wonderful, wonderful event, and really a tribute to our town employees. So thank you to our town employees who participated in that. It was a lovely event. I wanted to let folks know that the Town of Simsbury leaf pickup schedule is online. If you go to the homepage of our town website and look under news and announcements, you can click on it. You can type in your address and find out when leaf collection will be in your neighborhood. So that's always an exciting time for residents to find out when their lucky day is. And if you have any questions, you can call Public Works at 860-658-3222. Finally, Simsbury Celebrates is looking for volunteers for its Saturday, November 28th event, and they're also looking for sponsorships if folks are interested. Tonight, we'll be considering a public gathering permit for one of our most popular events. Want to thank everyone who worked so hard to put this together. It's done by just hundreds of volunteers, and would like to recognize that and thank them. And that's part of what makes Simsbury such a great community to live in. Community is only as good as those who give of themselves and volunteer to make us better, and so we are very appreciative of those who do. Moving on, we'll go to Selectmen actions. The first item is approved tax refunds. May I have a motion to approve tax refunds in the amount of $11,053.26?
So move.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Before you is a request to waive the fees for the Landmark Building at 760 Hot Meadow Street. We did, Mr. Cook and Bob DiCrescenzo and Mr. Houlihan did have a conversation before tonight's meeting, and I'm requesting that this motion be tabled for a future consideration. There are ongoing talks going on between the council. If there's no objection, we'll table. Do I need to make a motion to table? Yeah, okay, so we'll just go ahead and table that. Item C is to consider a tax abatement request for Chestnut Hill Associates of Simsbury LLC. The Business Development Committee met for the first time on this morning at 8:30 and has not completed its deliberations on the tax abatement request noted in tonight's agenda. This item again is also tabled until they have a chance to fully consider that. Moving on to item D.
I don't want to table this one. This is a good one.
Let me get to it. All right, so we won't table this one. Item D is a request to accept the Archdiocese of Hartford donations. The Archdiocese of Hartford would like to donate $1,133 for Keep Simsbury Warm Fund and $2,133 for the Simsbury Food Closet. The money for the donation is from the Archdiocese of Hartford Archbishop's Annual Appeal. May I have a motion? Sean, would you like to make that?
I'll make that motion with our thanks.
I'll second it with our thanks.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously. Item E is a Hartford Foundation for Public Giving donation. The Hartford Foundation for Public Giving has donated $3,500 for our Cheese Day, Bread Day, and Food Closet programs, which assist low-income residents of Simsbury. May I have a motion with our thanks?
So moved.
Second.
Who got the second there? We'll give it to Mike, okay. So Cheryl with the first, Mike with the second.
But
All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
With our thanks, and we will send them, we'll make sure the town sends thank you notes to all of those. Item F is a request to authorize the first selectman to sign the operating assistance grant contract between the Greater Hartford Transit District and the town of Simsbury in the amount of $6,800. Our charter does require that anytime I sign one of these, I get your board's permission to do so through a motion. There is no town match to this grant. The town does make quarterly reports to ensure that we are in compliance. May I have a motion to authorize the first selectman to sign the operating assistance grants for the contract?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Good job, Chris. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Competitive motion making we've got going here. All right.
It's exciting stuff tonight.
I know. Okay, moving on to item G.
Love election meetings.
Stop. We have a motion to authorize the first selectman to execute a KSAC grant application in the amount of $5,323 to support local prevention activities. The Social Service Department applies each year for the Capital Area Substance Abuse Council, which is KSAC, for a grant to provide funds for substance abuse prevention. The town will receive that $5,323 with no financial match required by the town. This actually does not require a motion, but I am bringing this to your attention as a courtesy, and based on your request that I do so, that you made in January. So are there any questions? All right, so I will be signing that tomorrow then. Moving on to item H. You have before you a motion to approve a public gathering permit for Simsbury Celebrates on November 28th. Simsbury Celebrates will be held on Saturday, September 28th from 4 to 8:30 p.m. The public gathering permit meeting was held on Thursday, October 8th. Recreation Supervisor Taryn Ray has secured all the necessary sign-offs, and the application is ready for approval by the Board of Selectmen. There is no financial impact to the town. The event will pay for the police overtime coverage and all other program-related costs. May I have a motion with our thanks to approve the public gathering permit for Simsbury Celebrates on November 28th?
So moved.
Any further discussion?
Looking forward to it.
All in favor, please say aye. Thank you. And again, thanks to all those who volunteered to make this happen. It really is a labor of love, and they work hard and do a great job.
Yes, they do.
Update on the Senior Community Center project. Since our last meeting, when we talked about the two other areas for consideration, which were the Webster Bank and the Andes property, we subsequently, last Friday, received a letter from those operating Chestnut Hill that they were no longer interested in being considered for the senior center, so they have withdrawn that consideration. So we'll now be pursuing both the Performing Arts Center site and Andes through the architect for evaluation and consideration. Tom, do we have any other updates? That's the major update, I believe. Yep, and Dr. Partisani is working on his report, so we hope to have that soon.
Excellent.
Thanks to everyone who came when he was here and met with Dr. Partisani. Good conversations. Going on to appointments and resignations, we have an appointment recommendation for Peter L. Tadone as a regular member of the Police Commission with an expiration date of January 1st, 2019. He is a Republican. May I have a motion?
Move that.
Second?
Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously. Review of minutes. You have before you the regular meeting minutes of September 28th, 2015. We do not need a motion. These will become the permanent minutes unless there is a change. Would anyone like to make a motion to change the minutes in any way? Moving on, we will go on to Selectmen Liaison and Subcommittee reports. We do have some recommendations from the Personnel Subcommittee, and I will turn it over to the Chair, Chris Kelly, for those recommendations.
Thank you, Lisa. We did approve 3 job descriptions. We'll take them one at a time. The first is the senior building maintainer. This is actually a newly established position. It's really what was agreed to in the budget process of promoting one of the maintenance custodian positions to a more senior position. And it would provide a level of leadership within that organization. And again, it was approved in the budget, and there is no other impact beyond that, and it's a new position. So I would entertain a motion at this point, or make a motion to approve the senior building maintainer job position at a T8.
Okay, the motion has been made. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? I want to thank staff who worked hard to put these job descriptions together and our unions who evaluated. And Mr. Cook, thank you for your work, and Mr. Kimball. It actually is quite a bit of work, and we appreciate all the effort that went into that. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The position for senior building maintainer is approved.
Thank you. The second one is project administrator, DPW, an A1 position. This is another position that was approved in the budget. It's an administration and coordination position, and you have the job description in front of you here. So I would make a motion to approve the project administrator, DPW, A1.
Second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The project administrator position, DPW, is approved unanimously. Moving on.
Yep, and our third and last one is Administrative Secretary 2, WPCF. This is actually a change of a position. What it basically does is two things. One is it moves this position to be more consistent with a similar position that exists in the Public Works Department, where there is consistency. And the second is it actually also reflects some added positions, specifically billing, and some cross-training with Public Works. So it's an elevation of a position. Again, it doesn't have any direct budget impact at this point. So I would move the adoption of the Administrative Secretary 2 WPCF position.
Second.
Any further questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is approved unanimously. Are there any other selectmen updates?
I don't have a subcommittee update, but if
That's okay.
you grant me just a minute, I'd like to thank our Simsbury Bike-Friendly Community Committee for hosting a celebration tonight for all the riders in the National Bike Challenge. Lisa and I were both there celebrating with a committee that worked very hard to put Simsbury on the map with the bike-friendly community. Simsbury was number 5th in the whole country for their size per capita for the number of miles ridden, and WeTalk, as a separate entity, was second. They had a couple of riders who were over 8,000 miles in the challenge. I mean, we're talking a lot of bike riding.
Chris Magliari lives in Weetalk.
Well, I think Larry Lynn, he was a big one. But, it was a good chance to just celebrate their accomplishments and all the people in town who participated. I know I got my silver star, that's why I'm wearing it, for going out and just putting some miles on the board. And Tom Roy, he got a gold star. He got a lot of miles.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of fun, and I encourage you all to participate and get on your bike and enjoy the trails.
All right. Well, anyone else have updates? I have one update from Open Space. At our next meeting, we will be discussing again the open space disposition policy that this board requested that we evaluate. It has gone through Open Space several times. There's a draft out there. We'll be talking about the draft and welcome, of course, public input at that time. And thank you for mentioning the bike-friendly stuff. For those who may be aware, this is also Bike Walk to School Month, and so we're seeing a lot of activities at the schools. Latimer, Tooten Hill, Squadron Line are all very involved in that. So thank all the schools, all the parents, again, all the amazing volunteers who get up and say, how can I make this community better, and then do something truly amazing. So thanks to everyone who's doing that. Does anyone else have any other updates? Okay, with that, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Move that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We are adjourned.
That's a record.
You might want to give your star away.
You want my star? You can wear my...